Hello, hello, everybody. Hope you're having a great day today. Today I'm out riding up Mount Hamilton and Mines Road, which is a great, very technical and beautiful route. Just passed by the junction. They weren't open yet, so I just passed by. So decided to keep on going and start recording. So today I'm going to share my internal conflict. The last few weeks, ever since the demo day, I can't get it out of my head. I want another bike. I just want another bike. And you know, I've been going really back and forth on, do I really need another bike? No. Do I want another bike? Yes. Am I gonna get another bike? Probably. And I'm really debating between the Chief and the Challenger. So more specifically, the Chief Dark Horse Bobber and the Challenger Dark Horse. It's between those two bikes. I did test ride the FTR yesterday, and that is a super fun bike. If you didn't watch that video, you can click up there. Not sure if this will come out before that one, but you can definitely check it out. But anyway, I cannot get that bike. I would definitely go to jail because I would be having way too much fun on that bike. So it's between the Chief and the Challenger. And I messaged Picasso, who, by the way, if you don't already follow Picasso, I highly recommend go follow him right now. Go subscribe to him. He puts out fantastic content. He is an amazing storyteller, and he deserves way more attention than he currently gets. So if you are watching me but you don't know who he is, I highly recommend go follow him. He's far better YouTuber than I am. So you'll be very happy you did that. Anyway, I reached out to him on Instagram. I asked him for his perspective because I know he rode the Challenger, and I know some of his family and friends have Challengers, and he rode the Chief for an extended period of time. So I wanted to get his perspective because he has a unique perspective where he's done both, or he knows people who have the Challenger, and he has a lot of personal experience with the Chief. So I wanted to gauge his perspective and saying, like, hey, what would you think, you know, which is, from your perspective, what you think is better for me? Because my conflict is, I love the Chief, and I mentioned this in the demo day, where if the Chief was out when I bought the Scout, I would have absolutely bought the Chief, hands down, no questions asked. And without even really realizing it, I've been kind of building my Scout to almost be a shadow of a Chief. I love the power, I love the midsize, I love the technology that's on there. And so I was really struggling because, you know, obviously the Scout's never going to be the Chief. But it's kind of like the big brother of the Scout, which I really liked. And don't get me wrong, it's not to say I'm unhappy with my Scout. I love my Scout, and I'm keeping my Scout. I am not selling this bike, not giving it away anytime soon. So, for all intents and purposes, this is my bike, and I'm keeping it. And I'm very happy with it. And I'm very sentimental about it. It just wouldn't sit right with me to put all this time and work and effort into it, and ride it, and really kind of almost build a relationship with it, and then decide, all right, I'm done, I'm gonna go get a new shiny toy, right? That doesn't sit well with me. So I love my Scout, but it also doesn't fill all the gaps in terms of what I want to do when I go ride. And so that's why I was thinking, okay, maybe I should get another bike and be, you know, happy with it and have some versatility in terms of the types of riding I want to go do. So I asked Picasso, I asked him, so what do you think? You know, I love the Chief, love what it can do. And my only concern with it is that it's not really going to be doing too much more than what the Scout can already do. And Picasso confirmed that. He said, yeah, you know, the Scout and the Chief are very similar. Obviously, there's some key differences, but for all intents and purposes, they serve the same function, right? It's just one's a stronger version of the other and comes with more technology. And my concern with the Challenger was that I wouldn't really be able to do it justice. And Challengers, you know, especially compared to a Scout and the Chief, Challengers are far more expensive, but you're also getting a lot more bike with that. So obviously it's going to cost more. And my concern was I'm going to be paying a lot more money for a bike that I'm not really going to be using to its full potential. Because right now, I can't go on long distance rides. I can't go on multi-day trips. You know, at most, I can go out for a few hours once a week. Because I got Tiny Tater at home, I got Yoshi at home, I got Nix at home. And it doesn't sit well with me just to leave Tiny Tater by herself to take care of the house, the baby, and the dog. And she doesn't get too many opportunities to go out herself. So I can't do that. So I'm not really going to be able to go touring on the Challenger anytime soon. And I have a Bluetooth headset in my helmet, so I wouldn't really be blasting the music on the speakers on the Challenger. So there's quite a few things where I wouldn't really be able to do the bike justice. And so my conflict is, am I going to be paying nearly $30,000 for a bike that I'm not really going to be taking full advantage of, right? Because that's a very, very expensive investment into something. And if you're not even going to be using it, then it's wasted money and space and effort and everything else. And I'm not going to be too happy just because, you know, obviously I spent so much money and now I have this huge bike that has all this power and capability, and I just barely scratched the surface with it. So that was my conflict there. However, with the Challenger, if Tiny Tater and I go out, obviously it'd be a lot easier and be much more comfortable for her because the bike's obviously a lot bigger. It's really meant for touring. It's meant to be more comfortable. And so she would be comfortable there. And obviously with it being a bagger, I could carry more supplies with me. I could go grocery shopping and just pack everything away. I wouldn't have to strap everything to the Scout. And so there's pros and cons to each bike. And I'm still kind of conflicted, to be honest. And I keep going back and forth. Like I'll message Alec, DT Bobber, go follow him if you don't already on Instagram. I've been messaging him and just like one day, hey, I got that Chief. I'm gonna get the Chief. Next day, nah, I'm gonna get the Challenger. Next day, nah, I'm gonna get the Chief. Like just back and forth. Like I cannot make up my mind. And I mean, right now, as of the recording of this video, I'm leaning more towards the Challenger because that's really a different bike. And it's gonna serve different purposes, but I'll have versatility. Since I'm gonna keep the Scout, if I know I'm gonna be going on a trip or commuting and I have to filter through a lot of traffic, then the Scout's gonna be a lot easier to do that filtering with. But I know if I'm gonna go touring, if I'm gonna go on a day trip with Tiny Tater, then I can take the Challenger because that's gonna be more comfortable and we're just gonna have a better time overall. So that's kind of the thinking. That's where I'm currently sitting. And Picasso brought up a really great point that because the Chief and the Scout are kind of in that same family, I could just end up not really ever riding the Scout again because the Chief is so similar. So it's like, am I really solving any new problems? And am I really going to be doing anything differently with the Chief that my Scout can't do? And the answer is probably not. So it's, you know, possible I just don't ride the Scout anymore if I get a Chief, which I don't really like. You know, if I have multiple bikes, I want to have multiple bikes that serve different purposes. So that way none of them get neglected in a way. After thinking through it a little bit more, I think I'm leaning towards the Challenger, and who knows where I'll stick. It's just too many things. I definitely get into analysis paralysis, where I go through all the different specs, I'll go through all the different options and features and price points and capabilities and pros and cons, and I'll just make this. I already have a huge spreadsheet with columns for everything, checking out price points and power bands and everything down to the color options. And at some point I just have to make a decision on what am I going to be happiest with. And that, I think that's fundamentally what it's going to come down to. It's the battle between the logical side of my brain and the emotional side of my brain, and I'm just going to have to go with what's going to make me happy, what's going to make me the happiest. And I guess with that being said, if I do decide to go with a touring bike, you know, I'm not an Indian loyalist. I'm definitely open to other brands, so you know, maybe I'll need to do some research into Harleys, and I know, you know, Honda and Kawasaki and all the other brands have their versions of touring bikes. I know I don't really want a sport touring bike, because that just doesn't really, that just doesn't resonate with me, you know. But I really love the look and feel of the Challenger, especially after that demo day. Whew. That was a fun bike, even for that tiny little demo. But I've never test ridden any Harley touring bikes. I've only test ridden the Lowrider S, and I think it was the Fat Boy. Those are the only two Harleys I've ever test ridden. So maybe it's time to go back to just a horse on the road. Anybody around? Your horse is out. Not sure if I should be concerned about that or not. Anyway, maybe it's time to go back to House of Thunder in Morgan Hill and maybe give them another shot. My last time I was there, I did not have a positive experience, so maybe I'll give them another shot. We'll see. What do you guys think? What do you think I should do? Should I stick with what I know, which is Indian, or should I branch out into other brands and see what they got? Do you think I should go with the Challenger, which solves different problems for me, and you know, maybe even in the long term I will be able to go on more longer distance riding once Yoshi grows up a little bit? But the caveat to that is I have to not get sucked up into the next shiny object that comes out. Because I know if I get the Challenger now, that means I'm gonna have to stick with it long term. And that means I'm going to bank on not having to get my hopes up on another bike. And also, honestly, the responsible thing to do would be to not get another bike until I actually need that other bike, right? So if I do want the Challenger for touring purposes, don't get it until I can actually go on longer rides. Like, that's the responsible thing to do. That's the logical thing to do. But that's also the boring thing. It's like, oh man, I want that bike. I want it now, even though I can't really use it to its full potential. I still want it. Well, I mean, so I guess those are my three options. Get the Scout. Those are my three options. Get the Chief and have it be the big brother of Scout and risk not really riding the Scout anymore. Get the Challenger, which is going to serve different purposes, which is going to give me some versatility in the type of riding I do, even though I won't be able to use it to its full potential now. Or don't get anything and be responsible and just keep riding my Scout because I'm still in love with it. And then once my demands shift enough, then really consider getting a bike. I even told my parents yesterday, I was hanging out with them. We brought Yoshi and Tiny Tate over to my parents' house and we got some dinner. And I was telling my dad about this, and he's like, just get it. Just go get it. Get the Chief. Go get it. Because I was talking to him specifically about the Chief. I didn't even mention the Challenger. And he doesn't ride, so he doesn't really know what I'm talking about. Like, he knows what the difference is between, like, a giant touring bike and, like, my Scout. So he knows that much, but I was just kind of talking about the Chief. And so he told me go get it. And that kind of, that cemented in my mind, okay, I should get a different bike, because he saw how excited I was about a new bike. What's up, guys? And then as we were leaving, he told my wife, hey, tell him to go get the bike, make sure he gets it. I yelled at him, hey, don't turn my wife against me. So, I mean, and Tiny Tater's okay with me getting another bike. I talked to her about it, and, you know, we were initially joking that I can only have one bike, and, you know, after some other discussions, and she knows how passionate I am about riding and how therapeutic it is for me, and just, you know, how good of a thing it is for me. And so she's okay with me getting another bike. And we are very fortunate enough to where we both have very good paying jobs. We haven't had any, you know, serious massive expenses, and I've been saving money ever since I started working. I've been saving, so we have a lot of money saved up, so I can dip into that a little bit to splurge and enjoy myself if I really want to. But yeah, we'll see. Alright everybody, that's going to be about it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, my internal conflict. What would you do? Option 1, 2, or 3? Get the Chief, get the Challenger, or do nothing and stick with the Scout? Love to hear your thoughts and comments and your rationale for what you would do. Got any comments or any other questions? Leave them down below. As always everybody, be brave, do good, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace. Have a great day.